So, graphing from an equation. So, if we have an equation, y equals 1/2 x minus 3. So, if we have an equation and I want to graph it, so I'm going to draw my x or my y-axis. Oh, that was a terrible line. So here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis, and I'm going to graph those points. So the first thing you want to do is identify the slope, or the m, and the y-intercept, which is the b. So remember, it's mx plus b. So my slope would be 1/2. So my slope is 1/2. Remember, m is multiplying by x. Multiplies by x is your slope. So slope is 1/2. And your y-intercept, your b, or y, and I start abbreviating, int for intercept, is -3. Okay, so we identified the parts from the equation. Next, if you think about it, the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. The slope is how much you move up or down from each point. So you're gonna have to graph the y-intercept first. So graph the y-intercept. So graph the y-intercept, because remember, y-intercept is the same thing as initial value or starting value. So we're gonna start at -3. So from the origin, I need to move along the y-axis down 3 because it's negative. So it would be 1, 2, 3. So that would be my y-intercept. So that's our y-intercept of -3. Then we're going to use the slope, delta y, or change of y over change of x, or rise over run, to find a new point. Oops, I did that on my rough draft too. New point in both directions. So our slope was 1/2. So if our slope is 1/2, we know we need to change along the y-axis 1. Well, since it's positive, I'm going to go up, and then move along the x-axis, which is the run, meaning I need to go to right. Since it's positive, you move right. Since 1 is positive, it goes up. So from this point, I'm going to go up 1, and then I'm going to move right 1, 2. So my point would be right there. And notice it says in both directions. So you have to reverse to go backwards. So instead of being 1 up, it's going to be 1 down. And instead of being 2 right, it's going to be 2 left. So you have to reverse both directions. And let me show you why. So I'm going to go 1 down, and I'm going to go 2 back, and that would be my new point. remember, this line has to be positive, and positive has to go this direction. So if I have this point and I have this point, I would have to go down and back to get this next point. If I just went down and up, or sorry, down and right, I would end up with like a V looking thing, and we don't want that. So it has to be the same line as this first point. And then our last step, oops, I've already used purple. Let me find, I'm not finding my pink pen. And then the last thing that you do, step 4, is graph the line. So you're going to graph or draw the line, and it's going to go across the entire page. So I'm going to go like that. Don't just make a line between the 2 or the 3 points. Extend it, because remember, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep going up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Okay, let's do another example. And I'm just gonna, you should have room below that. So that's the y-axis, that's the x-axis. So our next example is y equals negative 2x plus 1. Okay, let's look back at your steps. So the first thing I need to do is identify the m and the b. So this is our m, this is our b. So our slope is negative 2. Our b is positive 1. So this is step 1. Step 2 is graph the y-intercept. So my y-intercept is positive 1. So from the origin, I'm going to move along the y-axis up 1, and that is my first point. That's my y-intercept. Okay. Now step 3, we need to use our slope, which is change in y over change in x. Well, our number is negative 2. So it is not, it's not already written as a fraction. So I think these almost end up a little bit harder for some people, just because you don't know, how much to run. So this is actually our rise, and the reason why is if I do negative 2 and I put it over 1, divided by 1, notice it's negative 2. When you put these over 1, it doesn't change anything. So that means my rise is negative 2 and my run is 1. Notice it's not a negative 1, because if I made it a negative 1, it'd be negative 2 divided by negative 1, which would change that slope to a positive 2. Sorry, the sun is shining in this morning. So it has to be 1 is negative, 1 is positive. So it'd be negative 2 divided by 1. So from this point, the negative 2 tells me to go down 2, and then I would go right 1. So negative 2 right 1. So this would be telling me to go down, and this would tell me to go right. Because remember, a negative slope negative has to go down from left to right. You can think about a little ski guy. He's skiing, except for his legs. He's gonna get hurt because his legs are or his skis are pointing in. But anyways, so he's going down the hill. So it's nice negative. Okay. Now remember, you have to go in reverse to find the point before that. So now I'm going to write reverse. And instead of going down, I'm going to go up 2. And instead of going right, I'm going to go back 1. So go back to the y-intercept. And I'm going to go up 1, 2. And I'm going to go left 1. Notice it has to continue the same line. I wouldn't want to go up and this way because that would again make a V. We want it to be a line. The slope is -2 for the whole thing. And then graph our line. And then step 4, we graph the line. So remember, from the y-intercept, you have to move down and over and then go in reverse order, go up and back to make it a negative slope, because this one is negative.